be taken off the board. Of course, Cheese was always a Xerath player, but not necessarily in this meta, and I find it interesting to see that one banned. And Radier, he's going to lose his Jinx, which, you know, if it had have been, I believe, sorry, Uber Giants, bro, if he was still on the lineup here, of course, that'd be a ban away from him, but it's Denian now, who only likes to play champions that are right up in your face so that he can die as much as possible.
Yeah, just Lucian at the moment. And, you know, this is a lot of respect given to the bottom lane of the Chiefs. We mentioned the fact that the bottom lane for Immunity struggling. Anything but that can be said right now about Radier and Ejim. Radier especially look like he's a man possessed going back onto the Rift. Really has been unlocked by the new support player and playing with an air of confidence. Yeah, well, it's true. And sort of we saw Radier actually managing to get some flashy plays in over at the wildcard tournament, of course, trying to get into MSI. We saw him flashing forward, getting some damaging moves off, but look, continuing it now that Ejim's on the roster and really looking a lot more comfortable. And I believe that Ejim's actually brought a level head to the lineup as well, able to throw in his shot calling there. It's not all on the back of Swiffer now, so he can sort of sit back, relax there in the mid lane and just do his thing. And we've seen it. Yeah, Swiffer doesn't have to perform anymore. The game was all about Swiffer before this, and now it seems like the bottom lane just handles themselves and Swiffer can feed in the mid lane and it's fine. Yeah, exactly right. Let's go through the last couple of bans. So you see Maokai, Gragas, Rek'Sai being taken off the board. All very strong picks. Not much to talk about there. Soulstrike's going to grab the Nunu and look to get aggressive on that, but we keep talking about this Chiefs lineup, and they've won 2 games, yes, but they have looked shaky in the early game, especially Swiffer. Maybe even Swiper in the early game isn't looking fantastic so far, and this isn't what we're used to seeing out of Chiefs. These teams were building like 10,000 gold advantages at the start of games and being able to push it through. They only dropped 1 game last split. That was against 4-0 where they had a 10,000 gold advantage even, and I think that was 6 turrets to 0 as well at the time. So everything fell over in that game, but you know, they're hovering some picks right now, throwbacks to the Tryndamere Lee Sin days. Yes, I'm not sure whether these ones are actually going to get locked in. Well, ever since they got Shyvana, they stopped running that comp, so that's fine. Yeah, but in the end, it is going to be the bottom lane locked in. It is going to be the Kalista Thresh as well, so lots of leapfrogging to be possibly happening here, and it's the first time that we've seen Kalista get through for a very long time and actually onto a lineup. Yeah, and does well in a lane swap situation, so you have to watch to see whether Chiefs are going to do that. Of course, the Empowered Flay and the passive that comes through from Kalista's W is just so strong at the moment, and also does fairly well in 2v2s. If you can get the level 2 first, the all-in potential that comes out of the Pierce and Rend is absolutely phenomenal. So very solid lineup coming through here. Doesn't give much away for the Chiefs, but one thing they do need to be careful is things like Maokai, Hecarim, still available. Not Maokai. No, sorry, I meant Nautilus, Hecarim, still available. So they can come through right now, Immunity, with a huge front line, and it is going to be difficult for Kalista to tank bust. Well, we'll see whether she can. Of course, Kalista can opt for more of a single target build and possibly get towards that phase where she can actually tank bust when you're not relying on the Ren, but I see exactly what you're talking about. Not known for necessarily being able to cut through the tanks and get to the backline after that. Really wants to be getting the AoE down in these team fights, but Cheese is going to lock in the Azir, and there is a lot of synergy between the Nunu and Azir with that Blood Boil, of course, giving the Azir Sand Soldiers so much work that they can do. And we were talking about single target. This is definitely an AoE comp coming through from Immunity if there's going to be a clump Chiefs. Yeah, there certainly is. You know, they have the ability to build a hyper carry in there as well because they've got the Black Shield that can kind of nurse any other hyper carry through. Maybe Vayne will come out, although I would be surprised to see Denian pick up Vayne. Maybe Twitch. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd just be a bit worried. As we see Swiffer maybe looking at an Ahri here, and this is something that the Chiefs have been quite vocal about. I don't think Swiffer does like playing against Azir at the moment, and I haven't really taken much note of Cheese's Azir in a particular. He's played Swain Cassidy so far. Yep. But he is an old school mage player and has played Orianna in the past, and Azir has a lot of crossover. And what we've seen as well is players that are very good on the Xerath often seem to be good at Azir, even though they may not necessarily seem like they work together, like in a similar way, but you know, they're both Shurima champions, so it just generally seems to be the thing. But that have no joint mechanics at all. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But how many of them are there? There's a whole lot, okay? Look it up on the internet, guys. Evelyn is going to be locked in, though, and I think this is a talking point that we can go to. Of course, Spooks picking up that champion. I know you're quite a fan of the old Evelyn jungle. I don't know whether he will be going He won't go my build. Please do not bring that up. These are things best left off air. But the reason that Evelyn has seen a little bit of resurgence is because of Nunu, and you know, you can break the slow that comes through from Nunu very hard to counter jungler in Evelyn because you can't really find her all the time, and she does a lot of persistent damages that isn't reliant on the attack speed, just spams the Q out there so you can chase people out of lane. And couple an Eve with an Orianna, carry the ball around invisibly for a while, go in for the huge flank ultimates and get the big shockwaves against the team. Right now, I can see exactly the area that the Chiefs want to go. They want the big flank engages and be able to fight that way.
Yeah, and instead, Denian going to be taking the new Ashe onto the Rift as an answer here. They do have then the Enchanted Crystal Arrow for some massive amounts of CC, but Swiper is what?
Insta-lock. This is something that you will see a lot out of the Chiefs. Swiper thinks Renekton is the strongest top laner in the game right now.
Right now?
Yep. So he thinks that Renekton is honestly very, very strong. And he will take it into almost any matchup. So not surprised to see him take it up there whatsoever.
Interesting. Do you know what his thinking is behind this? We haven't seen anyone else really fall into that category just yet.
Yeah, so pretty much you can get 30% CDR really quickly through Black Cleaver as well as Spirit Visage. He shrugs off a lot of harass because he's got a self-heal in his Q. And as always, he's really easy to gank for. He's got a point-click CC that when empowered at level 3, his abilities do a lot of damage. So things like Evelyn, things like Rek'Sai that are able to focus a particular lane and get them ahead just means that Renekton has always been a lane bully. And the best thing about him is he's a melee absorb. That means he's not a tank, but he takes up a lot of the screen with his ultimate and Iron Elixir. And when you're trying to catch particular CC, so we're talking Sejuani ultimates, Ashe ultimates that are going to be flying through to you, he's just huge and hard to get them past. So he absorbs a lot of the CC that you don't want your backline catching.
Okay, so basically his job is to be fat on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah,
that's Swiper.
Is.
That's what he's doing this time. Interesting. Well, we'll see whether it is going to work out here, of course. Haven't seen him on the Renekton for quite some time, but another reason that I could imagine that he'd want to take it up to the top lane is the fact that Ryu hasn't necessarily looked all that comfortable over the first couple of weeks. Of course, Immunity in general hasn't, but Ryu as well hasn't necessarily settled into that top lane role as quickly as the Immunity lineup would have otherwise liked. So maybe Swiper's just hoping to roll over that lane. And of course, Renekton is the perfect champion to do it.
Yeah, exactly right. As I said, he's a really big lane bully, can get in their face a lot. Ryu has looked okay on the Gnar. I think that he certainly looks outclassed on the Rumble, so I'm not surprised that they didn't first pick that one. Yeah,
it's true. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to know exactly what you think about this particular game. Head over to Twitter, use that hashtag IamWin or the hashtag CHFWin, and let us know who you think is going to take this game. Is it going to be the underdogs? Come on, Australians. You all know that we love to back the underdog, and it could, of course, be Team Immunity this time around. Of course, yes, well, everyone. Oceanians alike, please put your vote in, and be it the Chiefs or Immunity.
Yeah, and I'm more interested about why, so make sure you fill up the character space. Sometimes I just get random CHF wins, and I'm like, but why are they going to win? You can't just jump on it.
They're the Chiefs.
That is a very good point. They are the Chiefs.
Well, and I guess Immunity, they're immune. I don't know where I was going to go there. There was a potential joke, but it just completely escaped me. Allow us to go straight back to the lineups here, and let's talk about exactly where these teams are strong. So who's going to be aiming for what? Of course, Renekton does sort of err on the early side of the game. And does that mean Immunity want to wait this one out?
Yeah, so Immunity, what they're looking for is to get to a point in the game where they have strong vision control and then can Ashe arrow people, Morgana bind people, get pickoffs happening. And they have a lot of follow-up CC, so they can start a fight at the drop of the dime.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much their game plan. Doesn't matter what part of the game, as long as they've got all their ultimates, they can set up good control over certain areas of the map and then just start fights whenever they want to. On the other side of the Rift, Chiefs, they were Immunity.
Yeah, previously Immunity.
Sorry. So the Chiefs, they're more about layering their ultimates together in a big 5v5 team fight, which not really surprising because that's definitely how they've been winning games so far. So they're waiting on the fact that Spooks needs to get these flanks coming through, set up the big Orianna ult for Swiffer, and from there, Radiant chunks people out with the Ren. So one team really looking to isolate people, take them off the map with a good pick comp, and then control objectives with the Nunu, whilst the other team really just wants to get through to about the 25-minute mark and start team fighting.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't actually touch on in the champ select here, of course, because the Evelyn was kind of overshadowing the other pick here, was the Orianna here for Swiffer in the mid lane. And I want to talk about this because Swiffer, he is an avid Orianna fan. Not necessarily does he love playing the champion, but he just loves when she's strong in the meta. He's a fantastic Orianna player, and he's going to be having fun there in the mid lane, but how does it work here against Azir?
Yeah, it's one of those matchups that's actually really skill intensive because Azir, you can't really force him off farm. Orianna has a little bit extra range on the ball, so the tether actually gives you a little bit more ability to harass.
Yep.
But the consistent damage is there from Azir because he obviously auto-attacks with it. So I honestly think it goes in Orianna's favor, but there are just so many good Azir players, and it's very easy to gank for Azir right now, especially when he has his ultimate, that you can never count Cheese out of a lane, especially when he's on one of the really strong power picks.
Yeah, well, it's of course Cheese as well, and I like how you mentioned the fact that you can never count this guy out. He's almost managed to win most of the lanes.
He
is the player on Immunity, exactly right. He's the one that's able to get ahead and try and get things done. And of course, his Swain was brilliant in their first game, actually tried to make things happen, but of course the rest of the map sort of failed. We'll see whether he can actually get ahead, because if there's any champion from the mid lane that can really carry a game through, you have to think that it's Azir.
Yeah, exactly right, and especially the way that Cheese likes to play these champions. He's not a passive control mage. He's always been really aggressive. Even when he was playing Orianna, he was a very aggressive Orianna player, so expect him to be up there in the face trying to get as much damage output as possible. And I think that whilst this is a skill-intensive matchup, and Swiffer won MVP last season, Cheese was right behind him for the entirety of the season and played terrifically for Immunity.
Yeah, he actually came in third on those MVP scores, so we'll see whether he can continue that performance, maybe get something going this time around. But we are going to get onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Immunity taking on the Chiefs for our third match of the night. Of course, the beginning of week 2 here of the OPL, 7 weeks long. We're still very, very early days, and Immunity looking to try and put a win on the board, and Chiefs maybe going for that actually perfect record this time around instead of dropping one at the very end.
Yeah, you just jinxed it, so it's not going to happen.
Get wrecked.
Immunity getting in there on the red side. Deep invade already coming through. This is risky because they didn't ward the entrance, which means if Chiefs actually had got any vision of them, they would be able to loop around and start a 5v5. But, you know, it's not going to happen because neither team is doing anything like that. They just all went gung-ho, but the Chiefs at least left a ward behind them.
Yeah, and both teams getting the deep ward down, of course, wanting to spot out any lane swaps to come through. And we'll see whether it's Immunity wanting to find the 2v2. Of course, Denian wants to get to shooting people as quickly as possible.
No, they want the lane swap. You do not want to go against.
Well, I think Denian will be kicking and screaming towards that lane swap. What I'm assuming, okay?
If you want to take Ash Morgana into lanes, I will definitely let you do that. That is your prerogative.
Even if you're the Morgana and I'm the Ash?
No. I am lane swapping.
Okay, well, in that case, I understand your opinion. Denian, though, is towards the middle of the map. We'll see whether it is going to be the Kalista heading up top. Of course, Denian moving towards the bottom side. It looks like the Chiefs want the lane swap.
Yeah, so the Chiefs going to be able to avoid it here. Will be a 2v1 lane up the top, and this is something that we criticized Chiefs for in IWCI, the fact that they weren't able to get it done in the lane swap situations. They were bullied, and Swiper particularly came back and said he had an absolute horrible time, and you know, this is the first that we've seen them so far this season electing to go into one.
Yeah, and so it's of course not going to be the Morgana Ash dodging it, which is strange, as you pointed out, but of course the Chiefs just want to make sure that they can secure farm onto the Kalista. It does make sense, and they can have a lot of pressure onto Ryu here in the top side of the map, and the Na is probably going to suffer a little bit more than this Renekton, who's more than happily AoE farming in the jungle.
Yeah, so Na should be able to follow as well. There's Hyper is so good at taking out jungle camps, especially when you're with something with a Nunu. Just get blood boiled and you'll be absolutely fine. But it is a little bit weird because they were started on the wrong side of the map and they're going for a gank onto Swiffer. This is going to be hard to make work.
Yeah, he does.
He's got cleanse, guys.
Yeah, he's got cleanse and flash, but decides not to use the flash. Just going to throw a ball at T-Gun and be about his merry. Of course, they are going to head back towards the bottom side of the map. Soul Strike's going to be taking the red buff, and Ryu trying to soak some experience.
Yeah, but Soul Strike's just got 3 buffs. Spooks is going to be able to go into the jungle, pick up the blue. It's the stronger side of the map for himself, and that's a lot of extra experience and honestly wasted time because there was no way they had the lockdown CC to be able to take down an Orianna that has cleanse.
Yeah, and what was Soul Strike's actually doing?
I have no idea.
At the beginning of... Because I thought that he'd done a buff.
No, he took Krugs and then went to invade blue straight away.
Right. Okay, so didn't really work out there. Of course, Spook's already taking down the blue buff. Is going to mean that the 3 buff is successful here. T-Gun going to discover that very quickly. The Spooks gets a ward down.
So they don't actually do it in time. They're a little bit hesitant to 3-buff the Nunu, and the rotation comes around. Maybe it was because Swiper wanted to grab that huge minion wave under turret, but they allow Nunu to pick up a second buff.
Yeah. I actually thought they picked it up. Of course, the Gromp was what they decided to take here, as Denian getting some pod shots onto Swiper, who's a little bit frustrated by the Ashe, but able to keep up in levels.
Thanks a turret shot in there. Has a lot of potions coming back into the lane, so Renekton going to be quite fine in the 1v1. No big buy coming through yet for Ashe, so not going to really be able to bully him out. And wow, Soul Strikes is still level 2.
Yeah, and he doesn't care about his blue buff very much either.
Well, he knows it's warded, and you don't really want to take buffs when they're warded, especially when there's 2 members on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to see in Evelyn as well. Ejim and Radier just going to farm this one out. And the pseudo 2v2, of course, does work out kind of well when you're a Gnar, because you are still theoretically a ranged champion until you get angry.
And then first game coming in onto Ashe down the bottom lane. Sorry, I just don't know how to follow that up. You're not theoretically a ranged champion, you are a ranged champion.
Well, Denian is going to get stunned up here as Spook's going to try and get something down. Denian does have the flash still available.
Ooh.
Hate Spike's not enough. Whoa, Spook's taking some damage.
Some miscommunication out of the Chiefs there. I think a couple more auto attacks, that would have been done. Gank in the top.
Yeah, Ryu, nice double stun with the wall up there as Ejim going to have to flash away the heal used from Radier as well. Double summoner spells from that one, and Ryu making things happen.
Yeah, but Denian, he's going to be dove in the bottom lane. Creep wave will be on the way. Is being zoned off a lot, and he needs to get away from that creep wave because Swiper has flash.
He does. Oh, there's the slice. Immediately flashes away, does Denian. Not going to get too much done. Man, he's playing with fire.
So he got absolutely nothing and burn an extra summoner spell. There was no reason to stick around there. Get your first shop in, even if it's just a longsword or something to come through, because realistically, he just burned a summoner spell, and that means that they can continue to pick on him. He's still not going back.
And there's not really much gained here from immunity either, because Soul Strike's sticking in the top lane.
So props to him.
Yep, smooth. Oh, more vision being put down by the Chiefs.
They've just zoned him off 3 waves, though. That's fantastic play coming out of Spooks there, understanding who he needs to get behind on the map. The implied pressure out of Evelyn just means it's very hard, and they're going to go for it one more time.
And he's just clearing out this minion wave.
Nunu's on the way now, though, so that's a bit harder of a dive.
Yeah, Chiefs, they are going to be privy to the fact that Nunu is heading through here. Swiper with that flash still threatening some potential action, but they've pinged out the Nunu. They understand that it is going to be 2v2. The Chiefs going to back away.
Yeah, but in the end, 12 CS picked up there in favor of Swiper when we compare top laners. In the bottom lane, 17 CS advantage. And another gank coming in from Spooks.
Yeah, there's the shockwave as well. Cheese almost falling down to Swiffer alone. Nice use of the Emperor's Divide. And the Chiefs unable to get anything.
Actually flashed there to try and get back in range and got shoved off. Mistimed it, wasn't able to get over the wall. And in the end, pretty good play there out of Cheese to live.
Yeah, Cheese doing some work there. Ejim looking for a death sentence, but the creep wave upsettingly in the way. This turret is probably going to fall down, though. A couple of creeps, not going to be quite enough to get the turret down, and the Chiefs will get it on the next wave. Ryu makes his way back up here as well. But Cheese backing in the mid lane, and Spook's going to pick up some farm.
Yeah, so Spook's trying to get some farm in the mid lane, get towards that level 6. Overall, Cheese doing a fantastic job in the mid lane to be able to keep up in farm. He's actually ahead by about 10 as top lane turret does go down. But the rest of the map, once again, collapsing around him. Radier already 20 CS up.
Yeah, and it's somehow a 1.5 thousand gold lead in favor of the Chiefs as well. Nothing really to happen apart from that turret going down. And Denian hasn't been able to get up to his.
Yeah, there's a turret down and a 35 collective CS advantage, and then another 11 on the jungler. That's 3 major jungle camps going down in Spooks' favor. And that's just a lot of passive gold at this point in the game. You see double longsword versus just the chilling smite, as well as some consumables and potions coming through for the Nunu.
Yeah, Warrior Enchant looks to be the option here for Spooks. Has been what we've been seeing from Evelyn's. Nice death sentence onto Ryu, but the shield has to be popped first, and the Ren comes down. Ryu just takes half of his health and is able to get back underneath that turret. Spook's going to hand over this blue buff as well after getting a cute little shield, and Swift are going to take some extra mana back to the lane. But Cheese still ahead by 9 CS, almost has the Morellonomicon completed. And we mentioned this before, Immunity, they want to weather the storm and get to the late game where this Azir can carry them through. Ashe, of course, still fantastic in the late game with her ability to kite around. And we'll see whether they can get there as unhindered as they currently are. Of course, if they stay this far behind, and do some damage control, this is okay for Immunity.
Yeah, they've lost the game actually, early game relatively hard. Bottom lane turret about to go down. The top lane is just not in a way that Knight can currently teleport because it will push back freely. So they're probably going to give up the first dragon, as well as maybe bot lane turret off how they've misplayed the early game. So it will get a little bit worse, but if they can equalize after that, they'll be in an okay position.
Okay, so not giving Immunity too much, but saying that it's not over yet, as the volley is going to come through and do some damage to Ejim.
Even bottom lane's pushing back. They do have level 6, so they might be able to start a fight, but Spooks is looking for the engage.
Yeah, Radiant almost has the Bloodthirster completed as well. Spooks coming through. Agony's Embrace is going to be available. He's sped himself up, but Denian gets hooked there as well. The Ignite's down. First blood for Spooks. And he finally gets something done. But the Chiefs, they can transition straight into a Dragon, and this is no good news for Immunity.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. Swiper, he's about to get ganked in the top lane, but that's a pretty tanky Renekton.
Yeah, the Dominus has been popped, and Ryu might be in trouble, actually, as the Slice has been used, able to dice through as well. He just gets the 1v1 as Soul Strikes forces the
he's
flash.
In trouble as well.
Yeah, Soul Strikes might be in trouble as he does get slowed down to Swiper and wants to just use that Dominus to clear out the rest of the wave, but that's a 1-for-0 in a 2v1 situation.
Yeah, and that's always been the problem with Renekton. It's really a who's ganking who situation as they pick up 2 kills and they're going to be able to grab the first dragon. Bottom lane turret must be on no health, and once again, it's really only Swiffer who's not doing fantastic, but he's had a lot of attention.
Yeah, it does get bound once more. Is the puddle going to come down underneath him? But it is going to mean that the Chiefs get an unhindered dragon towards the bottom side of the map. Immunity vision not too bad, very deep into the jungle, and I like this. Oh, another death sentence. And Denian, what is he doing here? As a binding flashed by Radiant, who just rends Denian to death. Fate's call to get T-Gun stunned up, but he's going to manage to flash over the wall. The Krog's pretty mad at him, but I believe they're not going to win that battle, and T-Gun is going to get out alive for now.
Yeah, and that's 30 CS and now a couple of kills in favor of the Chiefs bottom lane. And T-Gun, he's sitting there wishing he had the Thresh to save his AD carry in that situation, but Denian just went on a little bit of a roam and wasn't able to get anywhere, as did Egypt just hooked Radiant.
Yeah. So maybe they're having a bit of fun in the bottom lane.
Or a tiff.
Yeah,
maybe.
I was thinking possibly a tiff. Could Ejim have been a little bit miffed, Jake? I believe that could have possibly been it. Drama. Yeah, drama in the game. Oh! Arrowed underneath the tower. It is going to fall down. Oh, the Lantern, is it going to survive? No, it's not. And he manages to pick up a kill, but Denian, oh no, Soul Strikes picked it up. Oh, so some money over to the Nunu, but oh, Ash would have really liked that gold.
Yeah, at 40 CS now is Swiper still staying aggressive. Now after the Giants belt going towards the Black Cleaver coming through here. And this game looks like 4,000 gold the lead. We said maybe it's okay at 1,000, 4,000. I don't think we can currently make the same call. And Warrior Enchant finished up for Spooks now. He's even stronger than his counterpart, and everything just going in the Chiefs' favor.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit dark for Immunity. Hawkshot is going to light it up just a little bit, but it's only visually, as this game is looking rough for our Immunity players. 4,000 gold the lead, as you mentioned. Death Sentence is going to get dodged this time around, as Spooks is going to avoid the boomerang.
He knew he was seen, and he still swept the brush. That was a tick for.
Yeah.
Sad days.
And leaves it on 1 health too. That red buff doesn't work on wards, Spooks.
He's also probably as strong as Ryu right now, who's only got a Giant spell.
Yeah.
Calls in the cavalry.
Yeah, still make sure the Crocodile kills it.
Maybe you wanted to give him gold, the true support jungler coming through.
Oh, so cute. Caring and kind is Spooks, but Radiant with his Bloodthirster stacking that shield up in the bottom lane. Able to clear out these minions very easily, continuing to have a very high CS advantage. Soul Strikes, takes control of his jungle with that cute little smite. T-Gun now wants to try and find the Evelynn, as Cheese is around there as well, but Spook's just going to skitter away.
And they're looking for Denian in transition once again, because Radiant down in this bottom lane, or Swiffer.
Oh, Cheese flashes out of the way of that one, and Command protects himself. Spook's looking for the Agony's Embrace, but Cheese locks down the kill. Ejim not going to Death Sentence this time around as Cheese, he doesn't quite get the QE combo. And Swiper, oh my goodness, the Ignite's there. Able just to whirl him around and pick up the kill. And the Chiefs, they're transitioning, trying to take down this mid lane outer turret. And with Cheese dead, I mean, that's a whole lot of what's good for Immunity that's dead.
Yeah, it certainly is. No wave clear as well. Soul Strikes, wow.
Yeah, flayed out of his ultimate there as well. As Spooks is going to cop an arrow, but not going to be too worried about it as Swiper just tanking that turret forever. And T-Gun looking for a binding. Doesn't quite find Radiant. Almost nips his bottom there just a little bit, but not going to quite find it.
So Radiant's bottom safer now. Thank goodness. As the Chiefs, they actually got a little bit caught out there, but I feel that we've been a little bit critical of Swiffer's play for the first couple of games, but teams are starting to focus him almost to a fault. There's 2 lanes that are losing by a lot in the bottom and top, and they're still only returning mid lane to try and gank the heck out of Swiffer. As we take a replay at this one, good play coming through from Cheese, using both summoner spells to get himself in there and picks up the kill off the back end of it, but Spooks was there for the return gank. Little bit misplay from Cheese there, but it probably would have taken him closer to Swiper anyway, so wouldn't have wanted that. Swiper picks up a kill in response, and that Renekton, now 30 CS up and 2 kills, is pretty large at this point in the game.
Yeah.
He hasn't fallen off yet.
No. And, of course, when a Renekton gets this far ahead, it sort of doesn't seem like he does fall off, which is the frightening part. Swiper has always been a pretty fantastic Renekton player, and it looks no different now with that Phage completed. And now that the Black Cleaver is, of course, a standard item here for Renekton, does that mean that his scaling problems are sort of met just a little bit with the fact that he can stay relevant in damage?
Yeah, it's not met, but it's more that he gives some more further utility for the team. He's got the empowered slice and dice that comes through that gives some armor penetration. He can build up armor shredding stacks on one person fairly quickly as Spooks puts the dancing shoes on. So, as I said, his problems don't disappear with the new item, but they certainly get a lot better.
Yeah. Well, we'll see whether it is going to be accounted for here by Immunity as we enter the later stages of the game. Only 16 minutes in, but thus far 5,000 gold is the lead for the Chiefs. Volley to come out in the mid lane. Denian's just trying to find the farm that he can. Of course, to his credit, now only behind 20 CS.
Yeah, had a lot of time in the bottom lane as the Chiefs were trying to siege that mid lane turret and weren't able to get it because was a little bit of repel coming through from Immunity. So they have stabilized the game. They're about 5,000 gold behind at 15 minutes. So, you know, stranger things have happened.
They have. They most certainly have, of course.
But that's a pretty... Oh, jeez, no.
Oh, gets shockwaved against the turret here. Agony's Embrace of Spooks dives underneath. Just takes a lantern there as Swiffer just outside of turret range is going to get locked up. But Swiper, he flashes in immediately. Cheese is going to fall down as Soul Strikes, trying to turn it around on the Crocodile who slices and dices away. Ooh, the house going to get dodged, but not the binding. And Swiper falls down. Ryu picks himself up a much-needed kill. And Immunity able to capitalize from some over-aggression here by the Chiefs.
Yeah, so the 1-for-1 comes through. Dragon is available, so they'll go for that as Ejim gets hit by a bind as well, not sweeping out vision yet of the Chiefs. So, you know, they definitely are leaving some holes in the game plan, and this is what we've said. They're, I guess, leaving the barn door open when they should be closing it a little bit more sharply at this point. Yeah,
and the Chiefs weren't sort of known for having control over this early game in, like, earlier times, but oh my goodness, that binding was very close. Sneaky Evelyn in the way, but the Chiefs able to lock down the second Dragon. Immunity might need to be careful now as Swiper with the teleport is back alive once more.
They also have some wave clear, so not much really going to come of this mid lane siege. Swiffer able to push that one out. He's now up in CS as well, so every lane from the Chiefs coming out ahead. Renekton getting absolutely massive. Now picks up some Merc treads, nearly going towards what we assume will be a Randuin's Omen coming through there for Swiper. And with the dominance, he's already fairly tanky. He took a lot of members to kill him last time, so he's just going to become more and more of a problem. And that juicy CS wave up in the top lane.
Whoa!
There she blows.
Yep, heads up. That's an arrow. Unfortunately, Denian doesn't have teleport. Can't do that cute arrow from base teleport play from Season 1. Oh, that was a cool one. I missed Ash. I missed Ash a lot. Welcome back to the meta. See whether any of the Ashes are going to take teleport. What do you think?
I do not think so.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Smite teleports into Hulk Ash.
Oh, I love it.
Cooldown reduction, boots.
Yeah.
Frozen Heart.
I don't know about the Cinderhulk, but I think Devour Ash. What do you reckon from the top lane?
Oh,
head and take down the Gromp.
Spooks just loses against Soul Strikes again. Soul Strikes styling on the jungler.
Yeah, well, T-Gun and Ryu now trying to defend this inner turret in the top lane as Swiper is able to clear this one out with Radier as well. The Gromp going to fall down at the same time as Hawkshot is going to At least let Immunity know what's going on. Dark Binding onto Swiper. T-Gun probably doesn't want to do too much there as Cheese able to get a lot of damage onto Swiffer on the transition.
Got the flash again as well as the ultimate. And Cheese, he's really the guy that's starting to get some work done against Swiffer. Swiffer's just continually being, I guess, slightly caught out of position, and Cheese is trying to make him pay.
Oh, wow. Swiffer almost getting his back stopped there, and T-Gun probably would have been able to bound him up and lock down that kill, of course, without
Spooks wants the engage here.
Yeah, he's looking for something, but Oriana's back in base. Ryu didn't actually see the Evelyn as Raider and Swiper might be able to get something done. Oh, the turret falls down. Swiper, he just slices and dices his way in as Spook's able to get a huge ultimate off. Cheese is going to get Death Sentence. He's burning down as well. Completely out of mana, but flashes over the wall. Spooks follows him. Hate Spikes are going to be there. That's going to lock down the kill. T-Gun does get resetted on, but E-Jim's going to lock down another kill there in the mid lane as Radier just stacks back up that Bloodthirster, and he's back up to health. And the Chiefs, decisive team fight without Swiffer even there.
Yeah, and you called it. It was a 4v5, and they still went in, knew that the important cooldown in the Emperor's Divide was not up. And Spook's able to get a huge ulti, just meant he was so tanky at this part of the game, and they continue to run over the top with superior CC.
Yeah, Spooks just focusing on this turret as well as Radier going a bit aggressive. T-Gun on 300 health might need to be careful, but they're just going to take the turret of the Chiefs. Baron up in 5 seconds. But of course, it's only 20 minutes into the game, so probably not going to opt for that one. Just going to steal away the red buff. And the Chiefs just continue to have so much control over this game, and they're still looking like the premier team here in Oceania.
Yeah, they certainly are. And now the gold lead is up to about 8,000 at 20 minutes. That's with a couple of dragons on top of it as well. And this isn't like a team that will fall off a cliff. You've got the Oriana, you've got Radier's Callista coming through here that is looking very impressive. And honestly, none of the carries from the Team Immunity are getting going apart from Cheese. So it's going to get to the point where they don't even have the damage to deal with the members of the Chiefs. And why has Spooks got a
Phage?
Phage, hammer.
Because that's the Clear Love build. Yep, that's what you do.
Just buy a hammer.
Yep, you buy a hammer and then you make a Trinity Force out of it. Standard Evelyn. Don't worry, I was confused and upset as you are. I'm not a fan. But look, it's just what happens. One of those things. You're able to do a bit of damage.
Just buy a Hex Drinker. There's so much AP on the other team. So much more cost efficient. Like, as a jungler, you just shouldn't... A, you shouldn't have enough money to ever finish a Trinity Force as a jungler. And well, B, I'm not going anywhere from there. Let's move on.
Yep.
I'll talk to him
B,
after the game.
it makes you sad. That's it. Oh, actually, T-Gun looking for a binding here. Does land it onto Radier as well, but the Ren's been stacked up. The Chiefs now letting the cavalry inflate back, and Spook's going to pick up the kill. Flash into the stun. Ryu breaks the box, but he's going to break his life at the same time. The inner turret falls down, and the Chiefs continue the rampage through. Denian not sure whether he is going to be able to repel anything as the arrow is on cooldown. And the Chiefs just tanking up the turret. Swiper with that dominance, just able to tank for so long with so much health. And the Chiefs now 10,000 gold ahead at 22 minutes.
Yeah, so able to really move in. Dragon will be available in 50 seconds. You'll assume that would be their next objective to move in. Might even be able to get a shop in beforehand. And Swiper's really tanky, and Spooks kind of proved that he did a lot of damage there. So right now it looks like the Chiefs very comfortable with where they're at. Luden's Echo now finished up on Oriana. There are some big purchases coming through.
Yeah, and what do you think about the Luden's Echo second? I mean, I've always liked having the Rabbidan's Death Cap just because you have so much utility in the shield, but is this worthwhile just for the extra wave clear or maybe burst damage?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same train. I honestly don't. It's no Phage, let's put it that way. But as Black Cleaver also finished off, but yeah, it definitely is a different feel for Oriana. It gives her a lot of burst damage. You also move the ball a lot, so you get a couple of different rotations of your spells in where you can proc it. But I'm kind of the thought that you pick Oriana not purely for her damage, but for the utility you bring. You want to keep Radier alive. You want to be able to make sure that those big shields are coming through for your team. And if you delay...
Death Sentence is going to go down. T-Gun, oh, not quite going to die. Nice flash over the wall there is going to save his life for now, but the third dragon is going to go down.
So
continue.
If you delay it, it just delays the shield as now Chi's going to get caught. He mucked it up again.
Yeah, actually is going to use the ultimate there. Might be able to survive for a little bit longer, but wow, the burst damage to come out. The Luden's Echo actually almost finishing the kill, but Cheese is going to survive.
Baron.
Yeah, so much pressure being put on by the Chiefs, and with Cheese having to go back, they might be able to lock this one down.
Doesn't want it. He wants the bottom lane farm.
Oh, red dot syndrome for Radier. He's going to be able to take that one out, though.
They just chunked out 2 members. T-Gun they knew was low. They knew that Cheese was low. They have the pressure of Kalista. That means that they have to come to it. They have the ball that they can just put on top of Radier. That was probably a free Baron coming through for the Chiefs, but instead they choose to play it very slow. And this is something that we've complimented them on. The fact that they're not willing to rush games at the moment. They want to make sure of it, even when they get ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not exactly like the way they lost their only season game in the split last time around. It was a very overly aggressive game that actually lost them that one, so making sure that they are remembering that, taking it forward here. They did have a similar lead in that one as well.
Yeah, they certainly did. They were pretty far ahead, and they just decided that instead of dodging spears, they were going to try and catch them, as now Ejim caught out. Yeah,
actually the Dark Binding going to come through there as well. Swiffer over the side, able to offer some protection. Death Sentence not going to find the mark, but T-Gun's going to fall down. Soul Strikes with the ultimate, but doesn't channel for long. And the Chiefs able to clear out some vision. Cheese still on the run, trying to get away from Swiffer here, who's trying to get some revenge. Nice use of the EQ, but the flash ball into the shockwave. Swiffer secures the kill, and the Chiefs, they might actually do the Baron now.
Yeah, it looks like they're heading towards it. Nah is bottom lane. 2 members are dead, and all those things I listed off about 30 seconds still are in effect. They're going to be able to take this one up, and Nunu probably not going to be able to steal.
Yeah, trying to get in there with the Consume, going to be very difficult. Oh, actually, no, not going to be used there, as Spooks is going to be able to lock down that Baron. Ejim still very, very low, but they're going to be able to empowered recall back to base. Spooks now with the Sheen almost has that Trinity Force completed. He's got utility though, Spawn. He does have the Sightstone.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing his job. That's like kind of when you're a support and you're like, I built Sightstone, now let me get my Magias, my Death Cap, and my Void Staff.
Yeah, damn right. And Spooks is able to at least finish the Zeal. And we'll see whether he's going to wait the 80 gold. No, isn't going to. He's just going to walk around with 3 of those components.
Better yet as well, just build by wards until 9 minutes, upgrade your trinket to the 2 ward one, and then just buy a green ward every single time. You're like, I've got a metaphorical Sightstone. Just let me start with my Death Cap.
Yep, no problem. But actually Trinity Force was completed there, so I've just done my math a little bit wrong. Didn't quite realize how cheap that item was. Oh, Zeal, of course, went down. Yeah. It's a little bit cheaper now, as Ryu is going to try and defend this, but Radier is tearing this turret apart. Baroned up minions there as well, as Radier is just bouncing around.
And he's going for the double lifesteal build as well. He just wants to keep himself nice and healthy. Dodges out of the arrow.
Death Sentence not going to find the mark. Cute little play there attempted by Ejim, but not going to find T-Gun. As Spooks finally gets a Wolf Camp. Very excited about that. Empowered Scrying Orb, the far side orb, was used just to ward up the jungle. And immunity, it's very dark for them. Bottom side of the map, they do have that pink ward, but not going to do them any good, as all the Chiefs were hanging around the top side of it. That's a hula hoop underneath the turret. So immunity now have a slight opportunity to try and get something done without the shockwave available. Chiefs instead just going to push up the remainder of the lanes.
Yeah, just trying to get as much pressure across the map as they can. They've got the teleport available on Swiper, so you'd think they'd maybe send him to another lane, because he's hard to deal with right now. As Swiffer taking some damage. Cheese still can't be messed with. He's got 2 items and is pretty strong still on this Azir.
Yeah, and especially having a lot of wave clear as well, what with the flat AP that he has built up with the Rabbidan's Death Cap.
All right, back to the drawing boards. Now they recognize the fact that Swiper can't be dealt with. Send him top lane. Use the Baron buff to push all the waves in and see if you can get anything from there. But they just back away. The Chiefs not happy with how that went. They want to hit the reset button. 13,000 gold up.
Very interesting. Really cool and calculated play from the Chiefs. Maybe lacking decisiveness, but of course still definitely holding on to their advantage. Radiant now with the last Whisper completed. Ooh, Void Staff actually for Swiffer as well. He's going to be cutting through people if he manages to land these shockwaves.
He's missed one. Give him a break.
Oh, it was a pretty amusing hula hoop though underneath the turret. Liked it a lot. One for the fans. Soul Strikes almost has the Frozen Heart done as well. So some items being completed by Immunity. They're going to have a lot of armor trying to deal with Swiper and, of course, Radier. But that Black Cleaver with the % armor shred, if Swiper's allowed to stack that one up, all of the armor in the world is going to be very difficult to deal with, what with diminishing returns and everything like that.
And we see maybe a team fight starting here. No, in the end, Swiper and Swiffer not able to get in position. And, you know, you're right. That's why there's this build coming through from Radier where he's able to grab the last Whisper. He's got the second crossbow on there as well. So he's going to be attack. Recurve bow is just so strong at the moment because of the fact that it's just slot efficient now that they've changed 2 daggers to build into it. It's really good because it builds into the Blade of the Ruined King, which double lifesteal's always been good on Kalista, and it gets her up to near that max attack speed. So he's going to be able to get his auto attacks on everyone and start that one up nice and quickly. Then the fact that there's going to be a Renekton in there helping with all of the shred. Not to mention the fact that they're now on 4 dragons, so 5th dragon threat will loom in 6 minutes. Chiefs have really got everything in their pocket. It's just a matter of time now. Unless they make a monumental mistake, this game should be fairly simple to close out.
Yeah. Dragon timer achieved by Immunity. They do see it fall down. 4th dragon, though, for the Chiefs. We'll see whether we are going to actually hang around for 6 minutes or whether the Chiefs are just going to win this game before that mark, because they could just honestly hold back, keep pushing the waves in, and grab the 5th dragon and win that way. Of course, that would be the sort of very, very safe, calm, and collected manner of doing it, as Swiffer takes half of his health from an Q auto attack.
Yeah, so that's still a lot of damage that's coming out of this Azir. So, you know, they have to be careful. The longer this game goes, you just open the, I guess, the door to errors. They don't need to stall out the way they are. They just need to go back, heal up, get as much as they can, and then try and siege under turret. But Cheese is doing a great job.
Oh, Swiper actually dominance popped. He's already down to half health. There's Soul Strikes getting caught in the Shockwavers. Immediately, Spooks gets shut down. Ryu's going to get Descends. But man, the Chiefs losing members left, right, and center. Soul Strike somehow surviving as Immunity get 2 for nothing in the defense.
Yeah, so in the end, they choose to go for a really hasty dive, and Swiper didn't have the ball on him, which meant that the Shockwave was a fraction of a second too late, only results in getting Soul Strikes off the back of it. Denian gets a much-needed shutdown, and the Chiefs look like, even though they're this far ahead, they're really starting to struggle to close out.
Yeah, and of course, Spooks with this build as well, incredibly squishy. Not quite able to make the moves that he's used to, of course, on the likes of the Gragas on a lot of these champions. Radier now going for the 1v1 against Cheese. The heal's being popped, but Radier just uses that rend. He's a little bit too strong, and Cheese biting off a whole lot more than he can chew.
Yeah, didn't have enough available there to take Radier off, but you like the idea coming through from Cheese. He realizes that if his team is going to win, he needs to be the playmaker. If he survives for maybe 4 seconds longer in that, another person comes, the cavalry arrives, and Radier can be locked down and dealt with. But in the end, a little bit too overzealous, and it will mean that the Chiefs now can just control the Baron objective and probably pick up another.
Yeah, Swiper now with just over 3,000 health heading towards the bottom side. Teleport available, so wanting to make sure that he's putting on all the pressure that he can. The Chiefs now clearing out vision all around this Baron pit, as Spooks is just going to sweep this one away as well, carrying a ball around just for good measure, as the blue buff is going to fall at the same time. Another blasting wand here for Swiffer as well. Might be building towards that Abyssal Scepter for some extra defense against this Azir, but I have to think that it's probably the Rabbidan's Death Cap, knowing Swiffer.
Yeah, it certainly will be Rabbidan's coming through there. Just a little bit more utility for everything. You talk about defensive stats, but having more AP just means that the shields are going to get bigger. So, you know, Death Cap definitely not a bad item to go for in this situation. And T-Gun, he's trying to get some vision around here. This is very risky.
Yeah, Fate's Call not going to knock up T-Gun, as that black shield is actually pretty tough at this stage. T-Gun tries to flash forward. Cheese just gets obliterated, though, as Swiffer's able to get enough damage down. Denian goes for a 1v1 that he definitely should not have, as Radier picks up the double kill, takes a lantern, and they're rocketing towards the base, feeling like they can easily take it down now. 5 members to 1. Ryu, the last man standing, in the Chiefs. What a beautiful team fight.
Yeah, just a very good shockwave coming through that time, and Swiffer able to secure the game. In the end, the Chiefs run away with it in about 32 minutes. Probably slower than we expected. Actually, they're not going for the finish. They're just going for the second turret.
Yep, they want to take as many inhibitors as they possibly can. And sort of like, yeah, okay. They probably could have won the game. But instead, lockdown security.
Exactly right. You can never be too safe, Atlas. League of Legends is a fickle beast.
Well, I believe if you were too safe, no one would ever win, because you'd never leave your fountain. They
Someone would still win.
They can't touch you in there.
Minions stack up. You would still win somehow.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, it's very hard to win when you're just letting the other team get stuff. But Baron is going to fall down. Kalista going to get that one to die. And 1 minute 50 on the Dragon. Chiefs may as well take it.
What's another 2 minutes to make sure you secure the game?
Exactly. And of course...
Oh, yes.
Nailed it.
3rd time's the charm.
Yep, still worth. That's an entire Sightstone burnt trying to get the Scar Award down.
But he did.
He did. That's the main thing. That's what we'd write home about. Ryu, though, going to clear out these minions in the bottom lane, and Immunity on defensive duty. Of course, if Cheese can continue to clear out these minion waves, if they get them shoved into them repeatedly, they might be able to get some money. Soul Strike's going to get shockwaved and destroyed. Death Sentence onto T-Gun as well, as Ejim's going to carry the ball over the wall. He tries to use the Black Shield, does T-Gun, but the ball's enough, and whew, that dissonance really starting to hurt.
Yeah, it certainly
Spook's going to kill Cheese as well.
So 3 members dead. Spook's in the base.
Yeah, Hate Spikes onto Denian as well. Takes an E, and Spook's doing some damage now. As what items does... That's a Banshee's Veil, so that's not even extra damage. It's just a Trinity Force Evelyn at work, ladies and gentlemen. The Nexus turret's going to fall down. The Chiefs take a decisive win here. Not really as decisive as we could have otherwise hoped.
That was decisive.
Now they're going to take a little bit of a trip into the fountain. Fate's Call as well, as the Thresh just going to try and escape the picture. But the Chiefs, yeah, there was never really a moment that we thought they were going to lose that game.
Yeah, no, that was a very one-sided affair. And, you know, they seem to have got the early game back together. They were up by 8,000 gold at 20 minutes and decisively won every lane, except for maybe mid. And there was a lot of pressure that Immunity was throwing there. So it seems that teams need to identify exactly how the Chiefs are starting to play their games. A lot of focus going towards the bottom side of the map. Yeah, and Ejim and Radiant really performing well. As we do have a replay, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look how the Chiefs made it happen in the early stages of the game. Yeah, so this was a 4v5 that you called out. Swiffer, as you see, is in base, but let's roll this one out. Spook's got a really good flank and gets a huge ultimate. Look at the shield already, and Swiper dives in with the dominance, and this is where Radiant wants to do all of his work in the AoE clubbed up situation, and everyone's running away. Spooks is already doing so much damage with that warrior enchant, and the team fight just turned on a dime, and Chiefs were able after that to really run away with it. Yeah, they really did, and of course, not necessarily decisive, but making sure they took down all of the structures that they could. And of course, this is a Chiefs lineup that was playing overly aggressive a lot in the last split, playing sort of a little bit more gung-ho, would you say? Yeah, they need to figure out what calculated aggression is. They were methodical in their victory because they took all the base, but they didn't really know when they could dive, when they couldn't. They went for very greedy item builds. So there certainly are things that they can work on, but that was very one-sided. Yeah, most certainly was. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have one more game this